We have a special guest with us this morning. Why do we always end up in this chicanery when we have special guests?
I appreciate it. I love chicanery, nonsense, and tomfoolery.
All right.
I love it. And
the rest of the family.
Shenanigans as well. So we're,
What was the word? Chicanery?
Chicanery, yes.
Yeah, okay.
We're capable of it all. We have Dr. Jason Johnson with us. We are calling this our Truth Tellers Takeover week. We had powerhouses in the room every day. And today we are ending this fireworks show with a bang, with the big bang.
I am humbled and flattered. I saw some of the guests. I'm a big fan. You had Booker Squared, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Elizabeth Booker Houston.
Yes. I haven't actually met her yet. Huge fan of her work. Yeah. So I was like, oh, this is like really cool. I am humbled and flattered, and I am anchoring the week. I am the anchor in the mile relay that we're doing here. I'm very, very excited.
And we pulled out, I brought in, I'm an amateur kind of documentarian, filmmaker, whatever. My cameras are here.
There are cameras all around.
We are doing the thing.
I feel like I'm in downtown LA.
We are
cameras
pulling
everywhere.
out all of the stops. It's not MSNBC, but it's as close as we can get. We are so honored to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you. I had a wonderful time last time. I had a zillion people from all over talk about the clips of things that I said.
You know what?
It was very, very humbling.
You're hearing from people about the clips from last time? You know how many views that video of you, I'm calling it the cyclical history video. And I knew when you were talking here in the studio, and I had the cameras rolling. I was like, this is the moment. This is the clip. I pulled several clips and I posted them. I was like, this is the clip. It's going to get around. Do you know how many views that thing has on Instagram? I
don't know. It seems like I get a new comment every other day or so.
283,000 views.
Okay.
Of Jason Johnson. If you want to go to my Instagram page, it's Dara Tucker B, to see this clip of Dr. Jason Johnson speaking about the concept of cyclical history and saying we are in an interesting moment in history. And then he goes back and kind of gives you the precedent going back 100 or 150 years or something and saying we are in a cycle where it's going to take us some time to get out of this. I don't think that should have been as controversial a statement as it ended up coming off.
Right.
But folks were going off in the comments.
Extra crispy and surly. And it's funny because I remember I know Gary Chambers. I had a lot of respect for him. I remember Gary was one of the first comments. Yeah, I'm a fan of his work. He's part of the speaking tour that the Angela Rias put together and everything else like that. But here's the thing, and I feel this because it's a conversation I was literally having with a friend of mine last night. Y'all, I don't have to be a soothsayer here, right? What are we living right now? Right. This is literally what I've been talking about.
Yes.
So I think that part of what people are really struggling with, and they're always going to struggle, and our particular people, lots of people struggle with, folks don't really want to recognize the moment that they're in because they want to think about the moments down the line.
Yep.
They don't want to pay attention to what's happening right in front of them. It's like somebody is like, yo, you really need to lose weight. And they're like, no, I'm looking for these vacation spots. It's like, nah, you got to do something about your high blood pressure. You ain't going to make it through the flight. And people don't want to do that.
Your legs swole.
Yeah, exactly. Wear some compression socks. And that's where a lot of people happen to be right now. They don't want to look at what is so obviously occurring. And I'll say this, I know you have questions, but this has been heavy.
Questions, Jason. We are literally, I'm here basking in your wisdom, your knowledge, wherever you want to go. Just please take
this has been on my heart and soul for a while. And I mentioned that I was in Cape Town, South Africa 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So I was in a place that was an apartheid state most recently. I live in a country, America, that was an apartheid state until the 1970s, right? Yeah. So it's not like we don't have a concept as to what apartheid states look like. But when I tell people what has been happening in Los Angeles over just the last week, if we were talking about Brazil, if we were talking about Russia, if we were talking about any other country, the description of this across every single media outlet would be, authoritarian president who came to power after stoking racial tensions and interethnic tensions, sends troops in to suppress a part of the country that doesn't support him. That's all this is.
Yeah.
This is an occupation. Yeah. That's not exaggeration. That is not hyperbole. And people don't want to hear that because they think it's got to be stormtroopers with laser guns and Handmaid's Tale. But I need people to understand that the city, this is an attempt by the president of the United States to occupy an American city for no other reason than they don't like the leadership.
Yeah.
And if you don't understand that what's happening in Los Angeles is really just the first step, because there's some other cities that ain't going to step up this way.
Yeah.
And God bless them, there's lots of problems that tons of people have, myself included, with Gavin Newsom. But not every governor is Gavin Newsom.
Right.
So there's going to be governors who just fold if something like this happens. And that's what people need to recognize.
Well, we've already got Greg Abbott in Texas saying, well, we are preemptively going to start sending out the Guard to prevent protests.
Yes.
And I'm like, there are kids, this is what makes me really sad. There are children who are growing up in this America who are going to think that the squashing of dissent, the squashing of protesters is a normal thing. This is what happens when you protest.
Yes, and it is. Right? America's always been that way. Yeah. I mean, I think, Occupy Wall Street might have been the nicest protest we've seen because it was a lot of people, primarily, white kids in debt. And they didn't beat up on a lot of them, and they just saddled them with more debt. I think it was so much debt, it was too heavy for them to fight. But at the end of the day, that might have been the most peaceful protest we've seen in this country. Mm-hmm. Every single Black Lives Matter protest, immigration protest, they have been attacked. They have been beaten down. If you go out and protest, you can expect that someone's going to engage in some violence against you. Mm. What you don't see is the president of the United States and the Homeland Security Director having soldiers and federal workers wrestle a senator to the ground.
Yeah.
What you don't have is coming up with trumped up charges against a member of Congress for just trying to do oversight. What you don't have is the head of Homeland Security saying, we're going to occupy the city of Los Angeles until basically the governor and the mayor step down. That's what they said. Until we have liberated the city from the socialist dystopia that the mayor and the governor. So they're like, we're going to occupy Los Angeles until the leadership steps down. The democratically elected leaders of these cities step down. That is an authoritarian move. It's not semi-authoritarian. It's not semi-hot sauce. It's full hot sauce. It's 100 alarm fire. So people need to stop talking about what they think is going to happen and start preparing for the world that we actually live in, so that you can protect yourself, your children, your family moving forward.
And this is the issue that I had with all the pushback that you were getting under that post, where you were pretty much laying it out, the truth, the reality of the moment that we are in, and what it is going to take to move past this moment. I thought, are these people not awake?
Ain't nobody want to hear that.
That concerns me almost as much as the moment that we're in concerns me. Is like how many people are not accepting the moment that we are in.
Because it's interesting. You think about like life in the 40s or 50s or 60s, right? I don't think anybody here was alive in the 40s or 50s or 60s.
Yeah.
But we have this notion of what life was like for Black people in America before the civil rights movement.
Right.
Like, and and basically everybody seems to think that before 1965, the entire world was in sepia, right? It was just Black folk singing dirges like, I'm so sad to be heading to work, right? They just assume that that's how all Black life was. And so whenever there's like a documentary or an old photo album and you see kids playing hopscotch or hanging out or just enjoying life in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, everyone's like, oh my gosh, Black people were happy. Here's the thing. Even under an oppressive regime, even under the American apartheid state, people enjoyed themselves.
Yeah.
They woke up, they went to work, they met people, fell in love, had kids, ate sandwiches, right?
Yes.
Like, authoritarianism doesn't mean that your day in, day out life ceases to have any joy.
Yeah.
But it does mean that the corners of your existence become more and more constrained. And you are convinced that this is normal or this is necessary. And that's where the danger comes in. The danger comes in that you have a president of the United States sending the occupying army into a city and people still chilling doing Pride Month and people still brunching and people still hanging out. That's how authoritarianism works. It makes you think this is normal.
Yeah.
And then you sit around and do stuff with it. And I've had this conversation, I have a YouTube channel because that's where a lot of journalists are going now. I mean, I'm going to YouTube. I haven't done Substack yet, but I have a YouTube channel, and I've been talking about this and talking about what's happening in the city. And I'm amazed by the number of people who, one, either don't want to admit how bad this is, right? Want to say, well, really, I'm like, no, this is actually bad. Or two, and I know in Los Angeles, this is going to spark some stuff, but hearing these ridiculous nonsense ADOS FBA people go off about how, well, this is only the Latinos. This is only this, that, the other. It's not going to affect us because I'm a fundamental Black American. Nonsense. Do you think they care? Do you think ICE is looking at you and can see any difference between you, a Haitian, a Jamaican, or Ethiopian, or Somali? They don't care.
Yeah.
You're all going to get wrapped up. I mean, they've already taken people off the streets and found out after they've sent them 5 states away that, oh, I guess you are an American citizen. Here's a bus ticket. Get home. So we need to, in particular, Black folk, need to stop pretending that this is a Latino problem or an other people problem, because I promise you, every problem that anybody in this country has, eventually we get sick with it too.
Yeah. And this has been my message all week long. Like I said, I've had all of these heavy hitters on every day of the week, and all of them are echoing this same message. message. A threat to civil liberties anywhere is a threat to civil liberties everywhere. And this is the big picture that I feel like folks really need to glom onto. We need to understand in a fundamental sense. We cannot look at this as being someone else's problem. We're not entertained. If you notice, a call came through yesterday where folks wanted to start harping on, what the Hispanic community has done and what they deserve and who they voted for. It's like, you know what? At this point, none of it matters. That is a conversation that is mostly irrelevant at this point, because when civil liberties are threatened, who are the first people to suffer? Marginalized folks, vulnerable people. And if you don't think that is coming for you, you are sadly mistaken.
And here's the thing. It already has, right?
Yes.
You can talk to brothers and sisters in every major city in America and talk about somebody who gets, swept up in a police raid at a party and ends up getting deported.
Yeah.
That has happened. That has happened before now. The issue that you have now is the increase in the surveillance state, the amount of violence that these officers are going to be allowed to get away with, and also the sort of media environment we're in where it's so much easier to lie to people about what's going on. I'm getting phone calls from family members all over the country. People are like, oh my God, Jason, are you safe? I was like, it's like downtown. It's downtown. Traffic on the 101 is always bad, right? You don't know if that's because there's a Sparks game or because there's a protest against authoritarian regimes. It's going to be bad on the 101. And I've compared this to a lot of people to my experiences in Ferguson, right? Now, I was in Ferguson the week that the ruling came out, because I remember the way they set this up is they had the ruling come out on the Wednesday. It was the day before Thanksgiving, because they figured all the black folks would be at home getting turkey and cooking, so we wouldn't be out there protesting, right? So I was there, and I remember, if you were to look at the coverage of one particular broadcaster who is no longer on the air, so I won't mention that person's name, but I remember the broadcast from Ferguson tried to make that city look like the No Church in a While video by Ye and Jay-Z. I mean, they were just like, oh my God, all of Ferguson is on fire. It's not. It's not. It was like a 2-block by 2-block area. You could go walk down the street to the Schnucks and the Kroger, and you wouldn't have even known that the protests were going on. And that's in a city of 20,000 people. Right? So in Los Angeles, where the city proper is like 4 million, it's like 13, 14 million in the surrounding counties. It's not to say that the protests aren't meaningful. It's not to say the protests aren't important, but the suggestion or the implication that the city is on fire is just patently not true.
Yeah.
It's not true. I see more cops than protesters. Sometimes you see more journalists than protesters.
Yeah. We are smack dab in the middle of Inglewood, and I think I'm looking out the window right now. I think we're okay. Folks are going to work, and the city feels fairly normal right now. We are here talking with Dr. Jason Johnson this morning on the front page. We're going to let this conversation take us wherever it goes. I did prepare a few questions, but they really don't matter at this point. Things are changing. I put out a video last night trying to summarize kind of the legal scenarios. Here's the contingency here. This is what could happen here. This is what posse comitatus is, and blah, blah, blah. And it's already irrelevant, because now we've had this ruling that the National Guard has to basically cede control back to Governor Newsom from, being federalized by Donald Trump. Right. Now, the video that I just put out there's a part of that that's completely irrelevant. So we don't really have a plan this morning, and you are the person that I want to have by my side when there is no plan and when things are changing literally moment by moment. You are listening to a conversation with Dr. Jason Johnson. I forgot to even tell folks anything about you. Jason Johnson is an author, podcaster, professor. He teaches at Morgan State University. He's a host and analyst on MSNBC and a podcaster on YouTube that focuses on politics, culture, genre, television. He's an author of an upcoming graphic novel and speaks around the world on American politics and culture. We're glad to have you in the building, Jason. We are going to take a short break. I want to remind you all, we are streaming live right now on the KJLH page on Facebook. So you can go to facebook.com/Radio Free KJLH, and you can watch the show as well as listen to it. Like I said, don't turn off the radio, but you can watch us as well. And we're so glad to have you in the building, Jason. We're going to be right back with our special guest, Dr. Jason Johnson, right after this. Good morning and welcome back to the front page. Chicanery, shenanigans. What else have we got? Tomfoolery.
Tomfoolery, chicanery. Look, I am reenacting every bad episode of Everybody Hates Chris. I'm going to get this basketball in at some point.
If you all are watching the live feed, man, we got a bump in the live feed. If you all are watching the live feed on Facebook this morning, you have watched Dr. Johnson miss how many shots so far?
It's more than I would like to acknowledge. It's making me flashback to my high school days where I was a terrible basketball player. Terrible basketball player. My mother proudly tells the story once of I was so bad and was so out of touch with how the game worked that I actually ended up scoring a point for another team because I forgot you switched sides at halftime.
Stop.
I was a terrible basketball player.
Wow.
I ran track.
You're giving us a little insight into that this morning.
Yeah.
If you're watching the live feed, you can see there's a teeny tiny little basketball goal that I think was gifted to us, Bobo, by PJ Morton, if I'm not mistaken.
No, we gifted that to him, and he signed it and was like, I want to leave this here for you guys.
Okay.
And I use it every Friday. Actually make more shots than Dr. Johnson when I play.
I mean, anything plus 0 is more than I'm doing.
Exactly.
So.
Really, it's not saying much.
I just want to point out the fact I'm not the one causing the ruckus this morning.
That's true.
Dr. Johnson doing it this morning.
That is true.
I cause chaos where I go.
Let me get them all, Danny.
We appreciate it. Hey, Bo's going to try to get a shot. And we appreciate those of you who are joining us on the Facebook page. As I said, facebook.com/Radio Free KJLH is the address to go to. We appreciate Molly Bell. We are seeing her in the comments. Roy Tucker, who put in an amen, verifying the goodness and the wonderful, wonderful father that I grew up with. So that's my uncle, Roy Tucker, who is verifying that my father was special indeed. All right, Bo, you're not really helping yourself this morning. Bo says he can take Jason on.
No, I can't at all. Greg missed a shot too.
Greg be missing shots. I appreciate Greg's dedication because we have a basketball. No one has made a shot.
Look, I'm tossing more bricks than Tariq on power.
This is downright embarrassing.
Once I start making fun of myself, it's in. Made my shot. It still counts.
Celebrated for doing the absolute basic thing that you should be able to do as an able-bodied human being.
As an able-bodied black man of a certain age, yes, right. I should be able to do this.
Yeah. You have other skills, though.
I do. Thank goodness.
We're so glad that you do not depend on making shots.
No. I'd be very distressed.
Yourself.
Yes.
Yeah, but you do other things so well. You host MSNBC. How often are you on MSNBC?
So it depends on the time in the week, right? So usually I'm on at least once a week, but it sort of depends on the show. I usually host at least once a month, and then you head in the summer months and you host a bit more. I tell people this all the time. It's very, very important that there is a symbiotic relationship between the audience and what happens on TV. So when you see hosts or guests or analysts that you like, use Blue Sky. Use, I'm going to call it Twitter. Your mama call it X, whatever. I'm going to call it Twitter. You tweet the network. You say, hey, I like this person. I enjoy this person being on. So, like I said, it's usually at least once a week. I'm booked to be on The Beat with Ari Melber tonight, which is 3 o'clock Pacific time. And I enjoy it. And I say this in all candor because we've sort of had these conversations. I think people need to understand that all media in America, all corporate media in America right now is under a tremendous amount of pressure. You've got a regime in power that, actively threatens journalists, actively threatens through the FCC to take licenses and things like that. So as frustrated as people may become with coverage from time to time, you have to recognize that the men and women at these networks in front of the camera and behind the scenes are generally doing the best they can under circumstances that none of us have had to live under before. And I always think that we should have a little grace. I have my plenty of criticisms of plenty of people, but have grace because, folks trying to do the best they can. The best they can under some very difficult circumstances.
Yeah, no, I agree. I have empathy for journalists and journalism, and I think for us to put certain things under the blanket of media, the media, I think there is so much vilification of the media right now, but journalism is so important.
Yes.
And I really hope it survives this moment. I don't know if I trust that it will.
So here's the thing. There's meeting the moment, and then there's missing the moment, and then there's not even knowing the moment's happening.
Wow.
I would say a lot of people don't even know the moment's happening.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's the lack of lesson learning from Ferguson, right? And how you cover protests. The lack of lesson learning from, the moment that Donald Trump came down that elevator at Trump Tower in 2015. There are lots of different news outlets, print outlets, or what passes for print that are now digital and everything else like that. They're still covering this stuff the same way. It's ridiculous. Because it's not the same situation at all. And I feel like the audience, what happens, as you said, Dara, people are like, oh, I don't like the media. I'm like, well, you need to specify, because where most of y'all consume information is Instagram anyway.
Right.
That is a form of media.
Yeah.
Those people aren't necessarily journalists. So if you're telling me that you're actually reading newspapers, and by the way, you should be reading black newspapers and black websites, because those will also give you a better perspective on these kinds of things, and you're still not feeling satisfied, okay, you have a complaint. But if your consumption of news is a couple of tweets, whatever it is somebody posts to you and what you saw on Instagram, you're not reading news. That's like me saying, you know what? The food scene in LA is terrible because all I see is Jack in the Box. And it's like, well, do you go anywhere besides Jack in the Box? If Jack in the Box is all you eat, then yes, you probably think the food scene in Los Angeles is terrible, but I go other places than Jack in the Box. Right. Carl's Jr.'s at least.
It's what I call it's what I call the toupee effect, or what is called the toupee effect. You are not likely to see anything that contradicts your perception of what is going on if you're not digging a little bit deeper. Oh, all toupees look fake. Well, you wouldn't really know that all toupees don't look fake, because the only toupees that you're going to recognize are the ones that look fake. And so, yeah, I feel like there's a lot of misinformation being thrown out there around what is and is not happening.
Right.
And I think I know we are absolutely oversaturated at this point, and it is obviously a strategy of the current administration a distraction is a strategy. Chaos is the strategy.
Yes.
Which is one of the frustrations that I have with people constantly using this word distraction. Well, this is a distraction. The Elon Musk-Trump debate was a distraction from the budget bill. Now, the occupation of Los Angeles by the National Guard is a distraction from the Elon Musk thing, because he put out there that Trump was on the Epstein list and all of this. Everything is referred to now as a distraction from something. But the strategy in and of itself is chaos. It is shock and awe. It is confusion. It is distraction. It is exhausting. So in this moment, for those of us who want to be responsible citizens and we want to pay attention, what should we be paying attention to right now? I mean, what are the priorities?
So I will tell you this. I wish there are certain words that I wish could sort of be retired from popular parlance. Like, I'm so tired of the word toxic. People use toxic to describe everything. It's like, oh my God, that the cashier at Ralph's was mean to me. They're toxic. No, just stop.
Toxic.
Everything ain't toxic. That person was just tired. Right, exactly. Very toxic narcissism, whatever. And to a certain extent, I think that when we say distraction, sometimes it becomes a catch-all.
Yeah.
Because all of these things aren't distractions. Some of these things are just strategies, right? Like, so we have to understand it. But that's a separate question from what you should do, right? What a regular person should do. First things first, right? You need to limit and curate your media consumption. That's the first thing everybody needs to do. Figure out what you want to listen to and dedicate your stop doom scrolling. Good Lord. It's not going to help you. It's just going to make your finger hurt, right? And you go through these 12 different emotions one way or another. Where it's like, oh my God, I just found out this is happening with Cardi B. But then I found out that our rights are being taken away. And oh my gosh, a new supplement. Stop, right? Just find one or two things that you like to look at and exclude everything else. It's been interesting. For the last week, the Wi-Fi was down in the place that I'm staying. So I actually couldn't watch 24-hour cable news. I could only watch it on clips. I had an amazing week. Amazing week. I watched reruns of Miami Vice. That's what I did. You know, it was fascinating. Oh, look, Tubbs and Pam Grier, that was a great storyline. I remember Miami Vice when I was a child. My parents wouldn't let me watch those episodes. I get to watch them now.
I could not watch Miami Vice. You were privileged.
Yes, well, that's the thing. When it was too violent, they're like, you can't watch this episode. So I'm like, yes, now I'm an adult in my 40s. I can do it. But so first off, limit your media consumption. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I keep saying this to people. I said this after the election. Start documenting things. Okay, not just in your personal life, but with your family. If you have a passport, take a picture of that passport, make sure it's on your phone. If your family members, you got that grandma, aunt, uncle, whatever it is, hey, get your documents. Have all of your documentation together in hard copy and on your phone. It is for your safety and for your family's safety, for your daughter, your son, anybody. Just make sure everybody's got their documentation together, and make sure you have copies for your kids that you have available. So if something happens at your child's school or something happens at your spouse's work, you can be like, hey, I got the hard copies here. I'm 15, 20 minutes away. So that's number 2. And step 3, You have to engage in some form of resistance if you don't like this. Now, I'm not saying everybody's got to march in the streets. It's not safe for everybody to march in the streets. But what is important is that you find some way to say, I am displeased with what's happening. The reason that Doge didn't get away with everything that Elon Musk wanted to do is because people were complaining, right? Complaining is a form of resistance. So whether or not you go online and say, I don't like this, or call your member of Congress, or show up downtown at a town hall meeting or a city council meeting, that's a form of resistance too. Everybody ain't going to be out there marching tomorrow. And I get it, right? Some people, especially black folks, are like, we're not doing it. But I'm going to tell you this because I'm so sick and tired of this excuse. And I'm not the only person who's made this point, but I have to make it. If I hear another person sit there, another black person say, well, this is somebody else's problem and we're not doing this and I'm tired and blah, blah, blah. Well, what did you do exactly? What was the work that you were doing? What was the door knocking that you were doing? What was the effort that you were making? What were the calls that you were making? Were you carrying protest signs? All you did was vote. That's the minimal level of citizenship in this country. That's the thing that people died for 70 years ago. And you think that's the end of your work?
They were in the comments section, Jason.
Exactly.
They were doing the hard work. They were doing the hard work with their thumbs.
I mean, look, Martin Luther Twitter, that's amazing, right? But the rest of us have to understand that there's real work that should actually be done. Right. So to say that you were taking a break from work you ain't never done, I'm so tired of that. I'm so tired of that. 92% is a passing grade for school, but not for democracy. So don't use that as an excuse.
Oh, shoot.
It's facts.
Well, shots fired.
You told us.
Woo! Just saying.
Dr. Jason Johnson. I think there are a lot of us, as I keep saying, in this moment and I think it has a lot to do with why we are where we are. There are a lot of us who have taken for granted the work that our parents did, the work that our grandparents did. Most of us, as you said, none of us were born in the 1960s. Yeah. None of us lived through the difficult part of the civil rights era. It's all, as you said, cast in sepia for us. It is not real to so many people. Those were the olden days. Those were just the awful phrase that you hear now, back in the 1900s. It's getting to be so far away that it just doesn't feel real to so many people anymore. And I think it has a whole lot to do with why you saw so many folks apathetic this go round, or looking for perfection, looking for some scenario that was just going to be the ideal situation that they could vote for and feel happy about going to the polls about, instead of doing the least harm.
So this is the thing, and this is where this is the positive thing about the sort of term the 92%, right? Most people, and certainly most black women, stood up and voted for democracy. Like that makes sense. And that is, and as a demographic, you compare it to any other ethnic group, white women or white men or black men or Latino men or anything else like that. It was African-American women who went out and voted in a way to put Kamala Harris in office and, more importantly, prevent us from having the authoritarian regime that we're living under now. So that's fine. But I think the issue is that you cannot use that. And I'm talking about any group of people. This is all people of all colors. You cannot use your vote 8 months ago as an excuse to no longer participate in protecting your democracy. Yeah. That's the thing. That's kind of like me saying, well, you know what? I ate a carrot 7 months ago. I can't believe I have to go back to the gym. I ate a carrot. Didn't I tell you I ate a carrot? I told you I ate a bunch of carrots. Okay, right. You have to keep eating carrots, right? Otherwise, it doesn't really work for you. And so I understand people's exhaustion. I understand people's frustration. Look, I got to eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff every day. Yeah. This is not always fun.
Me too.
Right? But but it's the reality of the world that we live in. And most people have the opportunity to live other lives and have other things and responsibilities. But I'm so tired of the sort of keyboard courage of people saying they're going to disconnect from something that they were never fully committed to doing something for anyway. And that's the humility that people need to have going forward. It's like, look, if you like this, if you like what's happening now, then fine, sit back and wait until they start doing checkpoints in the city. Yeah. Because that's what by the end of the summer, they'll be doing checkpoints in certain parts of the city. Yes. They'll just make the curfew permanent, right? Like that's how authoritarianism works. It'll be that by 2027, suddenly you're going up to Anaheim to go to Disney World, and they're like, "Hey, citizenship papers." Like, I don't remember having to prove my citizenship to go to Disneyland. Yeah. That's how authoritarianism works. Yeah. It is a slow erosion of your rights. And some people are going to say, "Well, it hasn't been great for me now." Cool. Then see what it's like when it's worse. Yeah. Absolutely. I don't want to live that way.
We are talking to Dr. Jason Johnson this morning. We are out of time. Unfortunately, I could talk to you about this stuff for another hour. Can you come back really soon?
I definitely will. I always love coming here. And now that we got video of me actually doing something athletic, I am thrilled. I feel honored.
Define athletic. 1 for 12.
You got some,
I can't hear the static. I couldn't hear anything.
Some image repair you do need to engage in. So we need you to come back and we need you to come back and do a little bit better next time. Dr. Jason Johnson, thank you so much for being with us this morning on the front page.
Thank you so much. And please follow me. Please like, subscribe, follow me on YouTube. I'll be doing commentary on this. I'll probably be doing some work downtown. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Blue Sky. And tonight, like I said, I think tonight I'll be on at 3 o'clock Pacific time, 6 o'clock Eastern time on The Beat with Ari Melber on MSNBC.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here, Dr. Jason Johnson. You have been listening to Radio Free, 102.3 FM KGLH. Thank you for turning to the front page where our stories live and our voices lead. I'm Dara Starr Tucker. Until tomorrow, stay loud and stay lifted.